Hello, all. My name is Monica Morales. And so a little bit about myself is I graduating from Edinburgh High School in 2019. I've attended UTRGV since 2019 in the fall. I'm majoring in English. I'm working towards obtaining my teaching certification in grades 7 through 12. I am a first generation student, and if all goes well, I'll graduate by spring of 2025. I had experience like my teaching experience recently has been doing my student observations before then. It's been um it's been a while. Since my senior year of high school, I was in ROTC. I was a part of command and staff, which is like a little bit higher ranking cadets than the others. And so I was in charge of, keeping classroom ordinance and making sure students were on task. And it was good. It went well because I could relate to them and they were my peers and they respected me. However, it's gonna be like a different ballpark with students that I can't relate to, that I don't know, that I didn't grow up with inside the classroom. So I value the opportunity that I had to watch another educator be able to this semester to be able to, teach her students and what she does and what works for her. So my favorite author, touching in on the English part of my degree, it's Hemingway. I would like to utilize him in my classroom because I feel like he's great for promoting critical thinking skills in students. It's also challenging students to be able to read beyond surface level because he utilizes something called the iceberg theory in his writing, which is it's never as it seems, and there's usually like a deeper meaning to what is written, and it's not long, which makes it a pleasant read, and it's like decoding along the ways. And some can argue like, oh, poetry does the same thing. However, I'm a little bit biased. And I do prefer Hemingway. I would like to, yeah, like fit him into the curriculum somehow, as long as it is grade appropriate material. So as per my classroom management approach, I want to be able to promote a classroom that the students feel safe in, that they want to speak in. That it's fun for them, but they learn when it's time to learn. And I believe I can do this through building strong relationships with my students. I noticed that it works like whenever professors do with me, so I know it would work with students where they'll like they make effort to learn about like, what I don't like, my strengths, my weaknesses, a little bit about my history. And I think because it feels more personal, not so impersonal, um, s- there's that established relationship and students are more prone to respecting and participating. The educator. I also plan to establish clear expectations, rules and consequences from the first day. I'm gonna let them know what I expect from them, which is politeness. I want them to respect their peers even if they don't like agree with their opinions per se. They need to have that level of respect for them because everyone's entitled to respect. I want them to not interrupt others when they're speaking. I want them to not use their phone during lecture. And because I expect this from them, I'm also gonna model it myself because I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. Um, if they're not allowed to use their phone during lecture, I'm not allowed to use my phone during lecture. I'm not gonna cross that boundary. I'm not gonna break their trust like that. Um, I also believe in being fair and consistent. And so, with fairness, like there comes flexibility, and I'll touch on this a little bit more in like the differentiated instruction portion that I want to talk about. Um, but I want to be able to show my students grace. I don't want to be strict with them. I'm also not going to be too lenient with them. As for my instructional approach, I do believe in student-centered learning. I believe students can learn as much from their fellow peers as they can learn from me. And I think it's also more like engaging when they're able to talk rather than just listening. Um, and I like it's kind of like a learn and go type experience. Like you'll learn what works, well, I'll learn what works and what doesn't. And some of my instruction approaches that I want to touch on are differentiated instruction. So like I know that there's different types of learners. Like personally, I'm like a hands-on learner. I like to write down what I'm learning, and I know other students can prefer like group work, they can prefer like videos. Um, and I just believe like accommodating um can how do I say it without it sounding like boring? Um, I just think you can be able to like respond to like the diverse needs of like your student of the students, their learning styles, their preferences, whatever the case might be. I also believe an educator should be flexible in how not only how the content's delivered, but how they assess their students. I'm talking like it doesn't always have to be essays all the time. Like it can just be exit tickets. It can be checking like mid discussion, like what their learning is. I also want to do inquiry-based learning, which is like they're kind of building off of one and like of concepts. I think it's a way to keep them engaged and they can develop their critical thinking skills. Um, they can also like be able to, because it mirrors real world situations. So like they can be able to pose a question and solve for it, and then it's not only connecting text, like not only can they connect to the text because like they can like put themselves like in the character shoes, but they're also like connecting into the real world, which makes it more personal and they're more inclined to learn. And so the last portion is an education issue that I would like to champion for, which is equity in education. So I grew up economically disadvantaged. I remember not being able to go to tutoring because my mom would pick me up. She was a single mom. She had to go to work immediately after I couldn't even go on the bus because I wasn't even zoned. I had to take I went with a letter to school. So I didn't have access to that, and I remember like I remember thinking like when I was thinking of what to write, like what do I care about? Um well, being able to have those resources, I didn't have access to like even online tutoring because I had an old computer at home. I didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't have like a laptop. And I just felt like that put me in a like a really bad position. And so with equity in education, like I just feel like it promotes like all students, regardless of like whether you're poor or not, regardless of your gender, regardless of your race, whatever the case may be, regardless of your um disabilities. Like you don't have to be underserved by the school. Like you can be able to have the opportunities as like your fellow peer. And like I know that's wishful thinking because quite frankly, like I know it's still gonna happen where like there's injustices that go on. But as an educator, I feel like I can do the best with what I'm given and I can be able to help out my students and be fair to them. Give them all the same opportunities, the same expectations, the same disciplines, whatever the case might be, but to treat them fair. Um, and not like I'm not gonna like have them purchase like an $80 program just to study with. Like, no, I'm gonna take into consideration that they might not have access to that. They might not have the means for that. And having grace on them and taking them into consideration is the least I can do. And I always champion for them because I wish someone would have championed for me. And that is the end of my video. Thank you all very much and have a good day.